All right, Rick, let's talk about these top 5 rookie performances. Number 5, my guy. Picked 32nd overall, top of the second round, Joey Porter Jr., cornerback out of Penn State, went to the Pittsburgh Steelers where his dad played forever. Do you know, off the top of your head, how many career interceptions Joey Porter Jr. had at Penn State?
Maybe one. I don't remember.
Maybe one. He had one.
Yeah.
Didn't have one his final season. And that was one of the knocks on him that we would talk about. He doesn't have ball skills. Had one in preseason, had a huge one late in the fourth quarter against Lamar Jackson in coverage against Odell Beckham. And it was an example of, and one of the concerns, if you're going to call it that, with Joey Porter coming out is that he was a little stiff in terms of transitioning. It didn't matter because he just boxed out Odell Beckham on that throw. Lamar basically threw it right to him and allowed the Steelers to come back and drive down and win that football game. What'd you see from Joey Porter Jr., who in limited snaps seems to be doing pretty well? And a note from Debo, passer rating allowed this season on 86 snaps for JPJ, 0.0.
Yeah, I know, but he hasn't been targeted on 86 snaps.
Yeah, I know,
That's
Debo.
misleading, Debo. So look at the targets. But he is.
Learn the game, Debo.
You guys go behind your magic curtain back there with all the smoke and the I am Oz. I am Oz.
All right, go ahead on JPJ.
But he did a great job getting his head back around. So he didn't get a pass interference where some of those young corners may panic a little bit in that situation. And the other thing, when he was in there, that was the only target he had his way that game. And
right.
The other thing was that he is being very physical in run support when he gets his opportunities. So I think that he should start to get more and more play time as the season goes along, because it seems like every time he is out there, he ends up making a play.
It is. I noticed on the plays that went to the other side of the field, he was still pretty handsy in coverage, like well beyond 5 yards. And I wouldn't have been surprised had he gotten flagged. He didn't. But as you note, it's a simple fix. But if you get away with it, I guess you keep doing it until they tell you otherwise.
Yep.
All right. Number 4, Josh Downs. I'm still waiting for Alec Pierce to show up in Indianapolis. He is yet to do so, and hopefully that happens for him. They have, of course, Michael Pittman, but Josh Downs has been a pleasant little surprise there in the middle of the field. 6 targets, 6 catches, 97 yards. He has some juice in the open field, and you sort of see that. And sometimes it's hard when guys play in the slot, and we talked about it with some of the college guys in the previous segment. If you're just running stop routes, it's hard to tell what you're good at. But they're finding ways to get Josh the ball and let him win with his legs.
Yeah, no, I think Shane Steichen has done a great job. They're getting him on deep crossing routes. They're getting him on a lot of underneath routes. He has the speed to separate man coverage. He's a good route runner, very elusive after the catch, not very strong after the catch, but very elusive. And he seems to be not Alec Pierce. And I don't know if you liked him or not. We didn't do this podcast back then. And I was actually still employed back then.
Yeah, you had a real job back then.
But he seems to be the guy that's getting the best separation down the field right now, and giving not only him but Minshew opportunities to make some explosive plays down the field besides Pittman.
Yeah, he converted that 3rd and 16 on sort of an over/scramble drill, and Anthony Richardson threw a laser. Anthony Richardson's the only person on planet Earth that can throw a 40-yard handoff. Like, it just feels like he can, when he's on, it's on. So yeah, good afternoon for Josh Downs. He makes the top 5. Number 3, similar sized receiver physically, but he lines up outside all the time. 9 targets, 6 catches, 64 yards. He's been on this list several times this year. The Vikings' first-round pick out of USC by way of Pitt, Jordan Addison. Again, he's getting open in small areas. If you don't get your hands on him, he's going to create separation early in the route. And then it's just a matter of Kirk Cousins having time to get him the ball, and sometimes Kirk has not had that time.
No, and he's the biggest thing that jumped out about him is he separated in the back of the end zone on his 1 touchdown, but he had 2 big 3rd down conversions, and on a 4th and 5, he ran an option route or a return route where he came in and broke it back out and separated from the coverage and made the play. So he's getting better and better every week, but they're really going to need him to step up, especially with the news coming out today that Justin Jefferson is going to be on IR with a hamstring.
Yeah, bad news in Minnesota, and that takes us to number 2 on the list, and that's bad news in Miami. Devon Achane is going to be out for a few weeks with a knee injury. This dude was legit in the running for Offensive Player of the Year, averaging 12 plus yards per carry over the season. And against the Giants, there were no answers at any point in that game they had for him. 11 rushes, 151 touchdown, and just had, thankfully, one reception for the Giants defense for 14 yards. But I don't know how you slow him down in this offense, and the only way apparently is by injury, because we saw him, like again, at Texas A&M. He can run between the tackles. They get him the ball in space on these end arounds, and it's a wrap. They give him these little touch passes. That was a 14-yard quote-unquote catch that he had. How do you stop someone like Devon Achane?
Well, I think Mike McDaniel is doing a great job scheming their offense to what this kid does, and that's getting him out in space, whether it's a jet sweep, whether it's sliding him in the slot and giving him a little, toss reverse behind the line of scrimmage and just let him go do what he has a God-given gift of being fast. And there's no question that he is fast. And the things that you see, he runs through contact for a little guy, just like you've seen him do it in college. And he makes that offensive line better because they don't have to hold the blocks very long. Because if they just give him a crease for a second, he is gone and through that crease. So he's making the offensive line better. So it'll be a pretty significant loss for him. And hard to believe that he wasn't able to get up and he was a healthy scratch week 1, I believe, against the LA Chargers.
That's right. We weren't even talking about him. And don't worry, though. They have Chase Claypool. He will pick up the slack. And I
Looking forward to that.
Looking forward to it. Me too. So is Chase. That would be something if Chase comes out and gets 1,500 receiving yards. We shall see. But again, they were down Jalen Waddle after concussion, and people forgot Jalen Waddle was on the team. That team played so well.
Yeah, whatever you want to call him, Mike McDaniel, the mad scientist or whatever. He's very quirky, but very brilliant in coming up with ways to scheme guys that are going to be playing. So does Wilson come off IR? Is Wilson playing now? Because he's a pretty good running back, but that was a pretty big blow for an explosive playmaker to Miami's offense, but not really too concerned about it because they seem to have an answer every time they have one of maybe their key guys missing.
I can't recall a head coach looking less like a head coach than Mike McDaniel and being so incredibly good at his job. Don't judge a book by its cover, Rick. I think that's the lesson there.
That was what was it? He had a great quote this week. I love listening to some of his press conference because
I think he said what his goal for the season was to be dominating the first 5 weeks of the season or something like that.
Yeah, first from a statistical standpoint,
right?
Basically referring to no one cares about the wins. We just wanted to be, yeah.
He said mission accomplished. That's exactly what he said. Yeah, he's great. He's smart too. Like, obviously he went to, where'd he go? Princeton guy?
I can't remember. I remember talking to him at the. I was down there.
You talked to him at the Alabama Pro Day.
Yeah, which was funny.
You said you were mad at him because he didn't talk to you at practice. He said,
I was going to talk to you at practice, but apparently coaching is more important than talking to me. So found out I was as big of sarcastic comments as he has as well.
Yeah, he went to Yale. Debo informs me. The Princeton of Connecticut, I think is how they refer to themselves. All right, number 1 on the list. Debo's guy, Jalen Carter. 39 snaps, 4 tackles, 2 sacks. And they line him up all over that defensive line from 0 to 5 technique. And I would imagine watching him over the center, the center looked like he was a kicker next to Jalen Carter.
Man among boys.
It is crazy. So Steve Avila, shout out to Steve Avila, who we talked about a lot last year. Their draft pick out of TCU. I thought he held his own at times. Alaric Jackson was playing left tackle. He was holding on for dear life. Coleman Shelton was the center who looked like he weighed 135 pounds soaking wet. And he got after Shelton a few times. I'd never seen this before. He beat Shelton into 1A gap with a swim move and came back and beat him to the other gap on the same play with the reverse swim move and got into the backfield. I think he hit Matthew Stafford on that play. All right, let's start here. What's not to like about Jalen Carter?
It's hard to poke holes in his game the way he's playing right now. And as much as he's shown up as an inline pass rusher, he has been very good at the point versus the run because he's playing with heavy hands, playing with leverage, can find them. Everything that you've seen on tape, you're seeing translate to the NFL. And so the other thing that was a knock on him, and I criticized him, and someone pointed that out to me, was that, he doesn't play hard every snap. And we said that same thing about Mozzie Smith, although Mozzie Smith's not in this category. it's because, well, do you ever think they're playing 80 snaps a game when
Yeah.
they're in college? He's playing 39 snaps. He looks fresh. They do a phenomenal job. Philly does a phenomenal job with their defensive line rotation because they have dudes, even behind the dudes that are playing in front of them, that are just as good. And when you can keep your defensive line fresh and you have a true defensive line wave and the coaching staff is disciplined during games to make sure that they keep that wave coming through, that's what creates a defensive line like Philly has. I've been with too many coaches that you have these guys, but yet you're afraid to take one guy or two guys off the field during the game. And then you don't get that defensive line rotation. Those guys eventually wear down, especially through a 17-game season. So, but Philly is very disciplined with their defensive line and with their rotation to keep those guys fresh. And all those guys are very talented as well.
Howie Roseman just texted Debo and told him that Jalen's only playing 51% of the defensive snaps.
That's keep them fresh.
Keep him fresh. Man, he's so good. And again,
all pro, Ryan.
No.
Well, Rick,
Ryan,
what did you say at the beginning of the season, Rick? You needed 8 sacks?
I need as close as 10 that he can get, and he'll be defensive rookie of the year.
Well, I think he's one defense. Well, Devin Witherspoon had the week off, so we'll see. But he has to be the front runner.
Right now, he would say he is.
Not that this means anything to your brains, but he's minus 175 right now.
So bet $1, you win $17 million.
If you bet $1, you lose $175 because it says minus in front of it.
I think it's 175,000, but yeah, close enough.
All right, one last question, Rick.
When we're doing our gambling podcast,
that's next. Don't hang up. We're doing it next.
Just wait for that vision. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh boy, you got to take some mushrooms to have a vision for that one, Dave.
Past 2 years, there's been a rookie All-Pro both seasons. Sauce Gardner last year and Micah Parsons the year before.
Yeah, yeah. What about that, Rick?
Maybe it's what week 5?
Too early. All right.
Yeah. Everybody, okay. Puka is the greatest receiver that ever was drafted in the NFL, and all the other stuff. You guys are bandwagon people. You're on 1 week, you're off. I can't keep track of all the bandwagons.
You know what? I'm laughing
through the season.
Oh, relax. I'm laughing because all I can think about now is you being Dan Marino's bodyguard getting ready to beat somebody up.